Let us begin with the opening recitation. If you have the recitation, you can follow this. If not, just listen. Om the sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. All mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. O Mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. Thus, until I achieve Buddha, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all wandering beings in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all wandering beings in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all wandering beings. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. Lord Vajradhara Dilipa Naropa Marpa Milarepa Gampopa Pamodrupa Jikten Sumgön Venerable Root Guru possessing the three kindnesses, root and lineage gurus, idams, dhammapalas, pray please bestow blessings on my mind stream. Unequal refuge, ornament of the world, whose renown pervades the 3,000 worlds, the undisputed conqueror Vajradhara. I pay homage to you, the Father Jikten Gonpo. You alone are continually on my mind. Compassionate One, please grant your blessings, dispel the darkness of my mind. Please bless me to realize the mind free from elaborations. Hung on the northwest border of the land of Udiyana, in the heart of a lotus flower. Endowed with the most marvelous attainments, you are renowned as lotus born, surrounded by many hosts of darkinis. Following in your footsteps, I pray to you, come inspire me with your blessings, Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. In the Dharmadatu palace of Akanishta is the essence of the Buddhas of the three times, who directly reveals my mind as Dharmakaya. O root Guru, at your feet I supplicate. Here in this last supplication to the root Guru, it says, in the Dharmadatu palace of Akanishta is the essence of the Buddhas of the three times, who directly reveals my mind as Dharmakaya. O root Guru, at your feet I supplicate. Dharmadatu is the realm, or the realm of reality. It's actually another way of saying all of this, all that exists. Right now, the way we exist and the way we experience this existence is samsara. When we have purified and removed all obscurations, all defilements, then we experience this and ourselves in the state of nirvana. Nirvana means quiescent, that it has been extinguished. What have been extinguished? All the defilements have been extinguished. All the obscurations have been extinguished. Now, whether it's in the condition that we are in now, or in the condition when we are Buddhas, this is Dharmadatu, the realm of reality, the Dhatu of reality. Dhatu means element, the element of Dharma, which in other contexts we can say is the emptiness nature of all phenomena. So this Dharmadatu. So where is the root Guru? It says in the Dharmadatu palace of Akanishta. So maybe a translation, we can fix this a little. It's saying the palace of Akanishta, which is in the Dharmadatu. This is what this actually means. Yeah, not the Dharmadatu palace of Akanishta, but Akanishta palace in Dharmadatu. Okay, so then what is Akanishta? There is the outer Akanishta, The outer Akanishta is the Deva realm, the realm in the Deva, the particular you could say heaven, yeah, in the Deva realm. In the Deva realm, in the what we call the God realms are actually divided into three distinctive categories. There are the God realms in the realm of the senses, the Kamaloka. In the realm of the sense desires, there are 6 of these heavens. There are 6 of them, beginning with what's called the heaven of the 4 kings, the heaven of the 33, and then Tushita, and 3 more. So this makes 6 within the first category. In the next category are the Deva realms of the Brahma worlds, also called the form realm, the gods of the Devas of the form. Form here is talking about like subtle form, as opposed to a form that is still involved the 6 senses. Now, of course, the 6 senses of the gods in the Kamaloka are more subtle than our 6 senses. Our 6 senses are very coarse, and also the powers of our 6 senses very limited. So in the form realm of the Devas, also called the Brahmalokas, the world of the Brahmas, in the world of the Brahmas, there are 16 further levels of heavens. 16. At the top of the 16, that one is known as Akanishta. And then above this form realm, Rupa Loka, is what's known as Arupya Loka. And in the Arupya Loka, there are 4 levels. At the very top of that, so to say, is called the heaven of neither existence nor non-existence. The beings that are born there, their minds have become so subtle that you cannot say they exist, you also cannot say they do not exist. So Akanishta is the highest heaven in the Rupa Loka, the heavens of subtle form. So that's the outer Akanishta. So according to Vajrayana way of talking about this, in this outer heaven of Akanishta, there is an inner Akanishta, which is the palace. And kind of using, you could say, mythic language, we say, in this palace is Vajradhara. So we should understand that this is a type of mythic language, yeah, to express something that is really cannot be literally understood as palace and heavens and all of that. So what this is saying is that the essence of the Buddhas of the past, present, and future, which is the Guru, root Guru, which is the primordial Buddha, Vajradhara, is in this palace in Akanishta. So what is this palace of Akanishta? This is talking about refining our mind, steadying our heart to the point that it can experience these heavens of the form realms. And they're related to what's known as the four dhyanas, or the four jhanas in Pali. The four dhyanas, the four increasingly steadying of the mind. These mental absorptions. A different word from samadhi. Samadhi is really the steadying of the mind, but the jhanas are more talking about the absorption. But, for all intents and purposes, for us at least right now, it's enough to see them as basically talking about the same thing, although you can get into big debates about how they are different. But here we can understand this prayer as saying, where are we going to find, right? Where are we going to find this root guru? Then we are going to find this root guru in the palace of Akanishta. And the palace of Akanishta is in a state of mind where the mind is steady and refined. So we then have to steady our hearts. And we have to train our minds to discover the Guru that has always been there. And what does the Guru show? What does the root Guru reveal? Directly revealing that our mind is the Dharmakaya. So the outer Guru, we relate to the outer Guru and the Gurus in the plural, outer Gurus. We relate to them to point to us, to show us the way to seeing your own mind as Dharmakaya. When things are going well, it's easier to believe my own mind is Dharmakaya. But when the heart starts to shake, it's not steady because outer conditions are shaking. Then mind or heart shakes. Then mind or heart starts shaking like outer conditions. Then outer conditions shake even more. Then heart shake even more. Then soon, everything is in commotion. Then very hard to see that mind is Dharmakaya. So even as we practice shamatha and vipassana, right, the goal is to steady the mind. That's just another way of talking about to relinquish, to remove, to clear, to purify, to be done with the mental defilements, the obscurations. That which disturbs, that which inflames, and that which agitates the heart, the mind. So here we make supplication to the Guru that is only ultimately to be found within our own steady hearts. So we practice dharma to steady, to make firm and even our heart minds, so that whatever outer conditions, whatever winds that are blowing, winds of the 8 worldly concerns, like, right, basically, the 8 worldly concerns basically fall into the 2 columns of like and dislike. On the like column, we have pleasure, we have gain, we have praise, and we have fame. In the dislike column, We have pain. We have loss. We have blame or criticism. And we have infamy, losing good name. So to not be affected by the 8 winds, cannot pretend not to be affected, That's not dharma practice. That's just putting on a show. We really need to train our hearts so that the 8 worldly concerns don't concern us anymore. Don't concern us anymore also does not mean no regard whatsoever for conventionally. Conventionally, if we do it skillfully, and we should do it skillfully, it is good, to have this column, meaning gain, right? Pleasure, praise, and fame. Conventionally and acquired, in a skillful way, these are good things. Fear of, some degree of healthy fear of losing things in this column, some healthy degree of fearing this column, loss, pain, right, and blame, and infamy. That is, I think, no problem, That's skillful using of these 2 columns. And when we say free from the 8 worldly concerns, we're talking about we're talking about not seeing the interdependent nature of these 2 columns, and then mindlessly, without any ability to decide, we get dragged around by chasing this column and running away from this column. That is what we are training to become free from. From being almost like instinctively chasing after this column that we like, instinctively running from this column we don't like, and having no wisdom, no discernment, no awareness that this is what's going on, right? So it doesn't mean, like, oh, you don't suffer loss anymore. It's like when you suffer loss, you have perspective. It's like, oh, well, yeah, this is a loss and it hurts, but it doesn't have to hurt so much. This is a gain. It's kind of nice, but again, don't lose perspective, What is gained today can be lost tomorrow. And what is lost today can be gained tomorrow. That's the kind of freedom we're talking about, to have perspective. Not to become a stone. That's not Buddhahood, right? Becoming a stone cannot tell the difference between, wait, did I lose or did I gain there? Not having concepts of loss and gain doesn't mean, not having the ability to tell the difference between loss and gain. That's just becoming stupid, It's having perspective in the midst of loss and gain, in the midst of pain and pleasure, and in the midst of praise and blame, in the midst of fame and defame. Not to get moved so easily, All these things will still arise, even for Buddha, right? Buddha Shakyamuni. Oh, people came to praise him, people came to blame him, people came to, cause him gain, cause him loss. Yeah, all this will still arise, but when they arise and how their experience, how we relate to them. This is what we're talking about, to become free from the 8 worldly concerns. Yeah. So now we continue our study of this text, the Great Drikung Teachings to the Assembly. Now we are on page 68, starting the 5th teaching. The 4th teaching ends with the embodiment of intention. And so yesterday I talked about how this emphasis on being able to see that what we are experiencing from moment to moment, these are moments of embodiment of the thoughts that we have, embodiment of our motivations, embodiment of our intentions. Whatever our state of mind, that state of mind manifests in the particular way we're experiencing our current reality right here, right now, from moment to moment. So now in the 5th teaching, Gyalpa Rinpoche in some ways then continues on this topic. So it's helpful to remember that this is probably a collection of 30 teachings that he gave over the course of a month. We know from the biographies of Gyalpa Rinpoche and his teacher, Je Pamudrupa, that they have their typical schedule is I think during the first 15 days of the month, I forgot the exact order, but basically it's for half a month, the entire community will engage in personal practice in their own spaces from morning to evening. Then for the second half of the month, the before lunch session, the Lama would teach. And the afternoon session, again, back into your own personal space and to work on your own practice. And that's the typical rhythm of life in this Gyalpa Rinpoche's community and Pamudrupa's community. In this case, it was probably a whole month whereby in the morning, the Lama taught. Then in the afternoon, you work on digesting the teachings, you work on whatever practice that you're working on. And that kind of schedule is important because otherwise, in some ways, us listening to this every day, it's not that listening can't change things. Listening to these teachings, learning these teachings, can change our mind. It's a form of, conditioning the mind. It's a form of embodying. It's a form of creating skillful intentions, thoughts, and then those thoughts and intentions can then manifest. But where this can become unskillful, unhelpful, is if we just intellectualize what we are learning. Where we are not actually forming or reforming our intentions, our thoughts, according to the teachings that we are downloading, we are receiving. Then it's not very useful. We have a local Dharma center here where the teacher is strict in the sense of, and this is a type of skill, strict in the sense of his daily program, as I have heard, is basically like an hour and a half, whereby the first hour you have to sit together. And after meditating for an hour, he will take questions. Then some new people, like came right, after the hour, or came halfway, and then when it comes question and answer time, he says, so those who have sat for the last hour, do you have any questions? Then apparently some people who didn't sit for an hour go, I have a question. And he immediately said, no, sorry, I'm not taking those questions. It takes guts, good teacher. You might experience it as a punishment, but no, what he's saying is, whatever questions you have is just blah, blah, blah. Sit for an hour. Then the questions that arise from having sat for an hour, and sitting for an hour doesn't even mean, right, that it was a peaceful hour. It could be a whole hour of just like, oh my gosh, I hate this. Okay, ask questions about that. Ask questions about that. Those are useful questions. Otherwise, speculative questions. Otherwise, it's just speculative questions. So something to be said about that style. So in this fifth teaching, one's own mind as the basis of appearances. Where do appearances appear? Where do appearances come from? It comes from our own mind. So the precious Lama taught the following, meaning Chopa Jikten Sumgön taught the following. What is the root of all of the teachings of the Buddha? The root, the basic principle of all Buddhist teachings, what is it? The root is one's own mind. It's one's own mind. Your own mind. Of course, you're like, I know nothing about it. I don't know what to do with it. I can't do anything with it. Mind, heart, mind, not just this, this and this. The heart, mind. That is the root of all the Buddha's 84,000 teachings. Saraha, in his Treasury of Dohas, taught this. The mind alone is the seed of everything. From it, existence, meaning samsara, and nirvana emanate, issue forth, come forth. It fulfills everything that is needed and desired. And so that's the wish-fulfilling jewel. There's the mythical wish-fulfilling jewel, almost like Aladdin's lamp, minus the tricky genie. There's this mythical wish-fulfilling jewel. Then Buddhas, deities are often represented holding some jewel, and we say wish-fulfilling jewel. But the real wish-fulfilling jewel is none other than your own mind. So it fulfills everything that is needed and desired like a wish-fulfilling jewel. Just the other day, one of my godkids, it was his birthday, so we went out to brunch with the whole family. Dad took the day off, and it's also spring break for them. So the three godkids, one came, to do a sleepover, and at brunch after we finished, the sister was feeling a little, maybe a little tired because the whole of yesterday was playing and late, and So she's a little not completely, in a good mood, and a little whiny, And then she's like, "What are we doing next?" And so we didn't quite answer, and then we're just chatting, talking, and then she goes, "I don't want to stay here. It's boring." And then I think Grandma says, "Where do you want to go?" And I said, "Let's go to this shop, that sells plants, just a few steps away." She's like, "I don't want to go there. It's boring." I said, "Well, there's a bookstore next to it. You could." It's like, "No, I don't want to go. That's also boring." So then I said, "Well, can we talk a little bit about this boring business?" I said, "So, do you see a common pattern issuing from this? Here is boring, there is boring, over there is boring. Uh, what is the common element in all three different places?" She looked at me. She's very smart, She was like, "No, I'm just bored." I was like, exactly. You are bored. So I don't think we can go anywhere where you're not bored. So first you have to decide you don't want to be bored anymore. So I looked over to the father and joked, and I said, "I just gave your daughter some pointing out instructions." But that really is all of us, right? It's just like, a kid would just blurt it out, right? Maybe it's better to blurt it out, For us, we just keep it inside, This is not agreeable, this is not agreeable, this is not agreeable, this is boring, this is boring, this is boring, Now, which is not to say, again, Dharma practice requires skill, not just like, being stubborn. Even being stubborn, supposedly in a good way. I just do the practice, just do the practice, just do the practice, No matter what, do the practice. I don't agree with that, okay? Again, different teachers have different methods, different teachers have different experience, different teachers have also different confusions. I have mine. Based on my experience, my confusions, my preference, I don't I don't know. Some of you who have been around long enough, maybe you have seen this. I don't insist like, "Oh, you just keep doing that practice, keep doing that practice." I say, you have to see. Maybe stop your practice, but not stop and check out. Stop and watch and see what's going on. So here, I'm also not saying, "Oh yes, your mind, that's it, end of story." No. That is the root of the Buddha's teachings, so you need to understand that. And then from there, you have to see what's most helpful, what's most skillful, based on what you are able to handle now. Right? You don't want to be stubborn with Dharma even, because you will hurt yourself, and then you will your trust in Dharma practice will actually go down if you force yourself too much. There was one, when I was in graduate school, there was one old geshe. Even when I was there, he was old. I always think of him as this old geshe. And probably from his perspective, it wasn't that old. But anyway, he has lived. He was from the older generation of Tibetans who came out from exile as maybe late teens or early 20s, So he was trained in the old system in the monastery and then left and then spent maybe a couple of years in India, and then mostly lived in the US. But he lived in the US as if he was still in a monastery in Tibet, really. He goes from the living room to his room, living room to his room. On his room, there's always has a text in front of him. But from time to time, or I think quite regularly, like on an annual basis, right? He would leave Charlottesville, Virginia, to go visit some friends he has, fellow monks from the same monastery, same area, who live in Hawaii. And he'll go a month and a half, And often he goes when he says, yeah, getting to the point when I'm studying, just about to get annoyed with just about everything here. It says, gotta go before it flares up. See, that's very skillfully understanding one's level of ability to handle. So he lived with other people, so and these are the people who support him. But nonetheless, there is, friction, whoever you live with comes up. But he very carefully, I could tell, he monitors his own ability. Yeah. So because we notice, it doesn't really have much to do with weather. We're thinking, oh, it's winter, he's running away, he's going off, or it's summer, or whatever, there's no seasonal pattern. But once a year he would go. And then, or at least I heard, that the way he decides is he says he'll keep working with his own mind until he feels like, if I don't leave soon, these afflictive emotions will flare up and then I will create negative karma. So time to go. So this is skillful. This is not about avoidance. It's not. Because he is really a kind of like, how far can I go, Can I lengthen the days? So if between last year and this year I can lengthen by a day, I have progressed by a day, 2 days and 3 days and 4 days. Yeah, so you could think of like his time in Charlottesville as his meditation, and then when he goes to Hawaii is post-meditation. So this is also when the text say, when your meditation becomes longer and longer and your post-meditation becomes shorter and shorter, and then that you're progressing well. And that does not necessarily mean formal meditation becoming longer and longer, shorter post-meditation becomes shorter and shorter. It's really talking about where you are training and where you are feeling like you still need to put effort and struggle, that's meditation. Now, post-meditation is bigger. Meditation is shorter. But if we're able to train, and it will involve some struggle, and then easing, struggle, easing, struggle, easing. When that becomes more and more constant, then the post-meditation becomes shorter and shorter, and then eventually no difference between meditation and post-meditation, cultivation and not explicitly cultivating. Coming back to this shows that the root of all phenomena encompassed by samsara and nirvana is one's own mind, and the mind is primordially birthless emptiness. So the mind gives rise to all appearances. The appearance of samsara, the appearance of nirvana, but the mind itself is birthless emptiness. Relate this back to earlier teachings that he gave. Then one is called dependent origination, free from the extremes of elaboration, and dependent origination that arises as cause and effect. Yeah? Good. Now we conclude today and the week with the aspiration prayers. So this text called Aspirations, beginning on page 1, which is extracted from the Mahasutra called On Entering the City of Vaishali. The larger narrative to this, if you go to 84,000.co, the entire sutra has been translated. So the larger framing of this story is the Buddha and his disciples, his great disciples, were coming to this big city called Vaishali. And the other big city is Shravasti, and Vaishali is the other big city that the Buddha spent time in, Shravasti and Vaishali. During this time, Vaishali was struck with some kind of epidemic, kind of like our coronavirus situation. And so as they're approaching Vaishali, people came and warned them and say, don't come, it's dangerous. There's an epidemic outbreak. And then so the Buddha says, here, this is what we should say. And by the power of these truths, the epidemic can be pacified. And then he instructed, I think, Ananda and other disciples to circumambulate Vaishali, saying these words. And it said then the epidemic was pacified. He in whom all attachment and greed are conquered, all defilement gone, his mind at peace without harmful intent, he will bring you well-being. He who leads all worldly beings to tread the path of liberation, the teacher of all dharmas, he will bring you well-being. The teacher, support of wandering beings, who for the sake of every living creature brings them all to master happiness. He will bring you well-being, the protector who with thoughts of love for all these beings sustains them always just as he would his only child. He will bring you well-being, he who in samsara has been for all samsaric beings a support, an island and a friend. He will bring you well-being. He who has laid bare all phenomena, who is pure and free from deception, whose words are pure, whose very acts are purity, he will bring you well-being. This great hero who by taking birth with perfection attained his purpose and accomplished all his goals, he will bring you well-being. He whose birth when this whole earth with all its forests shook and trembled brought joy for every living creature, he will bring you well-being. He who caused on the seed of awakening the earth to quicken all 6 ways and Mara to feel despair, he will bring you well-being. He who turning the wheel of the dharma pronounced the truths of the noble ones and was extolled as a sage, the Muni, he will bring you well-being, the alluring one who defeated all the extremists with the dharma and brought all assemblies under his influence. He will bring you well-being. May the Buddha bring you well-being, may Chakra and the gods bestow well-being, and may well-being from the Buddhas too be provided to you always. By the Buddha's merit and power and the wishes of the gods, may whatever goal you seek this very day be accomplished. Two-legged beings be well, four-legged beings be well. When you set out, be well, and when you return, be well. Be well in the daytime, be well in the nighttime, be well at midday too. May all of you be always well, may all of you know no evil. Surrounded by 1,000 gods, the Buddha has arrived. So you with hateful thoughts disperse, and you whose nature is compassion remain. By the power of the true words of the Buddhas, Pratyeka Buddhas, Arhats, and those being trained, those who do harm to the world should be gone from this city. All sentient beings, all living creatures, all Buddhas, and every one of you, may you have nothing but happiness. May you all be free from illness. May you all see what is good. May all of you know no evil. May whatever Buddhas are assembled here, all those who live upon the earth or in the sky, or act always lovingly for human beings and practice Dharma day and night. This next aspiration prayer comes from another sutra called the Destroyer of the Great Three Chiliocosms. It's actually a text related to a goddess called the Destroyer of the Great Three Chiliocosms, meaning the universe. So how does she destroy? She destroys samsara, in other words. This chant is quite similar with the last one. The last one emphasizes the Buddha jewel, the qualities of Buddha jewel. This one emphasizes the quality of the noble Sangha, not our ordinary Sangha, but the noble Sangha that we take refuge in. So here their qualities are explained. And so then when you say, oh, take refuge in Sangha, take refuge in Sangha, it's quite common, popular level. We think, oh, that means taking refuge with, like the Sangha that you practice in. No, you rely on the Sangha you practice in, you help each other, and the quality of Sangha is harmonious existence. And so you learn to have this harmonious community. And so in creating a harmonious community, we also need to have skillfully, because sometimes using one word harmony can cause harm. Sometimes communities have used this idea of, oh, for harmony, just, that's also not the way. Anyway, this is a footnote. But the Sangha that is described here, they are an object of refuge. And who are they? In this aspiration, we will learn who are these noble Sanghas. Homage to the three jewels in this world or beyond. There is nothing, not even a precious gem in the higher realms that equals the thus gone one, the God of gods, the supreme among humans. Thus he is called the most precious gem. By this truth may there be well-being here. There is nothing at all comparable to the dharma of uncompounded quiescent ambrosia, the uncompounded ambrosia of extinction and dispassion, discerned by the sage of the Shakyas through his knowledge. Thus it is called the most precious gem. By this truth may there be well-being here. There is nothing comparable to the absorption that precedes the Vajra-like non-dual path, the manifestation in due order of what is most desired, the permanent accomplishment of the teacher's absolute practice. Thus it is called the most precious gem. By this truth may there be well-being here. The 8 great kinds of person praised and called, the 4 pairs extolled as venerable by the thus gone one, the incomparable person, the great sage, yield great fruits when offered to, like seeds planted in the fertile field. This is called the most precious gem of the Sangha. By this truth may there be well-being here. Since those who strive with firm resolve and enter Gautama's teaching gain access to ambrosia, remove darkness and attain nirvana, they are called the most precious gem of the Sangha. May by this truth may there be well-being here. As soon as they connect with this vision, believe in the transitory collection, ethical discipline in the form of extreme austerity, and doubt are simultaneously cast off, and they see the truths of the noble ones. Thus they are called the most precious gem of the Sangha. By this truth may there be well-being here. With body, speech, or mind they never produce the threefold evil deeds, and even when they suddenly do, they do not conceal them, and in that way their view is not tainted with grasping. Thus they are called the most precious gem of the Sangha. By this truth may there be well-being here. Just as a threshold beam planted in the ground is unmoved by winds from the 4 directions, so other members of the Sangha of noble ones who have insight into the highest path of the noble ones. Thus they are called the most precious gem of the Sangha. By this truth may there be well-being here. Those who cultivate with profound wisdom the eloquently taught truths of the noble ones and consider giving away even their own bodies, never encounter the 8 perils. Thus they are called the most precious gem of the Sangha. By this truth may there be well-being here. Just as a flame extinguished by the wind cannot be taken up and counted, so do the offspring of the Buddhas become indemonstrable once they have discarded all fetters. Thus they are called the most precious gem of the Sangha. By this truth may there be well-being here. May all sentient beings moving or still be well here, and may they pay homage to the Buddha, the supreme teacher, venerated by gods and humans. May there be well-being here today. May all sentient beings moving or still be well here. May they pay homage to the Dharma, the peaceful dispassion, venerated by gods and humans. May there be well-being here today. May all sentient beings moving or still be well here. May they pay homage to the Sangha, the supreme assembly venerated by gods and humans. May there be well-being here today. May all sentient beings moving or still be well here. May whatever Buddhas are assembled here, all those who dwell upon the earth or in the sky, act always lovingly toward all creatures and practice Dharma day and night. By the truth that the victorious one, having vanquished his foes, spoke truthfully without falsehood, may there be well-being here, and may they all be delivered from grave perils. By the majesty of all the Buddhas, the majesty of all the Pratyeka Buddhas, and the powers of the Arhats, and all the secret mantra holders, by the wisdom of Shariputra, the supernatural power of Moggayayana, the vision of Aniruddha, and the ascetic practices of Kashyapa. By the previous attainments of Kaundinya, the learning of Ananda, the benevolence of Brahma, and the supremacy of Shatakratu, by the territories of the guardians of the world, the power of Maheshwara, the might of the generals, and the supernatural splendor of Hariti. Through their might and majesty, may poison be removed from me. Just to point out on page 11, these names, Shariputra, Maukayayana, Aniruddha, Kashyapa, Kaundinya, and Ananda, these are the great disciples of the Buddha. And they, in that context, were the noble Sangha during Buddha's time. Then Brahma and Shatakratu. Shatakratu in the other text is known as Chakra. In other texts known as Indra. He is the head, the king of the gods in the heaven of the 33. And the Brahma here is the one that is at the top of the 16 realms, the form realm, Akanishta. So Brahma is like the kind of the chief of the 16 realms of the pure form, the Rupa Loka. Maheshwara, the great God, the great Lord, is also known as Shiva, more commonly known as Shiva. The might of the generals, these generals are referring, I think, to the Yaksha generals, so they are referring to Jambala, the various types of Jambalas. And then the supernatural splendor of Hariti. Hariti Hariti is called the ghost mother. It's like she has 1,000 ghost children. And so she's a goddess, but she's also called the ghost mother, Hariti. She is often in the broader Indian context associated with fertility. Then the generals associated with wealth, and the blessings of wealth and blessings, protection of wealth and fertility. Finally, the aspiration of Maitreya. In the language of India, Arya Maitri Pranidhana Raja. In the language of Tibet, Pakpa Champe Monlam Gyalpo. In the English language, the noble Maitreya's king of aspirations. Homage to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Ananda in the past, when the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Maitreya was engaged in the bodhisattva practices, he would drape his upper robes over one shoulder, bend his right knee to the ground, and join his palms together. 3 times a day and 3 times a night, he would then concentrate on all the Buddhas and make the following aspiration. Homage to all Buddhas, homage to the Bodhisattvas who possess the divine vision of seers, and homage to the hearers as well. Homage to Bodhicitta, the heart of awakening that keeps the lower realms at bay, that shows us the way to the higher realms, and leads us to a state beyond aging and death. I go before the awakened ones to confess any and all misdeeds that I may have committed while under the sway of mind. May all merit occur through the 3 kinds of actions become a seed for my omniscience and inexhaustible awakening. The Buddhas are aware and rejoice in any offering made to the awakened ones throughout the Buddha fields of the 10 directions. And so do I too rejoice. I hereby confess all negative actions. I hereby rejoice in everything meritorious. I hereby pay homage to all Buddhas. May I attain the supreme wisdom state. I exhort each and every bodhisattva dwelling in the 10 directions and upon the 10 bodhisattva levels to awaken now to supreme enlightenment. And as they awaken to sublime enlightenment, may they turn the wheel of Dharma so as to tame the demons and all their hordes and bring benefit to every living being. May the beat of the great drum of Dharma free beings from their suffering for unimaginable billions of eons. May the awakened ones teach Dharma and remain. I beg you, best of humans, look upon us drowning in the mud of desires, bound by the ropes of craving, and in other ways absolutely trapped. May the Buddhas not level criticism against those of impure mind. Instead, may they give love to beings and free them from the ocean of existence. May I train in the likeness of the perfectly awakened Buddhas of the present, past, and future, and uphold the Bodhisattva conduct. May I bring to completion the 6 perfections and lead to the end the 6 classes of beings. May I manifest at last the 6 supernal knowledges and reach the unsurpassed state of awakening. May I realize the truth of emptiness, in which all is birthless and non-arising, without intrinsic nature, without location, with neither mental process nor substance. Just like the great sage, the Buddha, may I realize the truth of selflessness, in which beings do not exist, nor any living things, nor an individual, nor any kind of person. May I practice generosity free from stinginess without entertaining any notion of substantiality, nor any belief in the self, nor egotistical clinging, so that the benefit may reach all beings. Since material things do not exist concretely, may all my needs be spontaneously met. Since all material things are subject to decay, may I master the perfection of generosity with discipline completely flawless, discipline that is perfectly pure, and discipline devoid of arrogance. May I master the perfection of discipline with absence of anger, in other words, with patience, akin to how the earth, water, and fire elements, and the wind element as well, dwell not anywhere. May I complete the perfection of patience. With persistent application of diligence, may I be ever joyful and free from laziness, and with strength in both body and mind, may I complete the perfection of diligence. With illusion-like meditative concentration and bravery inspiring meditative concentration, and Vajra-like meditative concentration, may I master the perfection of meditation. Acting with the 3 gates of liberation, with the equality of the 3 times and the threefold knowledge, may I master the perfection of wisdom. May I be praised by all Buddhas as I beam with light and splendor, and with the diligence of a bodhisattva, may all my aims be accomplished. As I engage in this very conduct, may I, the one known as Maitreya, bring to completion the 6 perfections and reach the 10 bodhisattva levels. At the very moment I pass away, may I joyfully take rebirth into Shita heaven, and swiftly delighting the Lord Maitreya, receive his prophecy of my awakening. Changju Sem Chorim Poche Ma Ge Banam Ge Gyuje Ge Banyam Ba Me Ba Yang O Ne Go Drikung. Okay, we are done this week.